good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Um, Today, on today's boot camp, welcome to boot camp number 7. I almost cannot believe that we are already 7 weeks in. Just a reminder, the final boot camp is number 16, and I believe that is on December 18th. So I'll be doing this for about 2 more months, right? I'm also super, very not proud. Like, it's more like impressed by you following this far, and just being with me and being with yourself, being with your creative self. So pat yourself on the back, congratulate yourself, right? Because even though this might be to some just a Zoom call every morning, to you, to us, to me, this is a very important step in your creative career. So go ahead and give yourself a round of applause, right? Thank yourself for showing up. Thank yourself for taking a risk. Anytime you do anything, you're taking a risk, right? Even though it's not like you put money on the line for this, but anytime you do anything, you're taking a risk. Right, you're risking your time, right? You're doing something else with your time, and you're choosing this. You're choosing to be with your creative self. So congratulations to you. And let's get into it. Before we start, actually, I set my timer. I want to point out a book that I've been reading. So I've been reading this book, The Creative Act, A Way of Being. The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And it's really, really good. It is about creativity. Oh, that was my bookmark. Okay, I'll put it back again. It is about creativity, imagination, ideas, where they come from so far. That's what that's about. I'm only in the beginning. The chapters are really short. The chapters are like, I don't know, let me see. Each chapter is like 2 pages, right? Which is why, like 2 to 4 pages, which is why there are this many chapters. I don't know if you can see, but do not be intimidated by that. Each chapter is about 2 to 4 pages. It's really, really good. If we had some type of a book club, this would be the book that I would start with. The Creative Way, An Act of Being by Rick Rubin. I do not remember who put this on my radar. With Neil Strauss. I don't know if these people are any good people, but the book is good. The book is good. I really don't know who put this on my radar, but I had 2 copies. And a friend visited from out of town, and I gave her my second copy. And then I started reading it. So friend, if you're watching this, I know you are in the boot camp. I would highly recommend we read this. We read this together. We read this separate, but we read this. This week was Atlanta Pride here in Atlanta in October. I know most of the world, I'm from New York, so we celebrate Pride in June. That's when our parade is. In Atlanta, it's in October. But there's also Pride in June. And it's also, to be honest, Pride between June and now. It was Pride every single month in Atlanta. I'm loving it, no complaints. And I have not ever been to the Pride Parade in Atlanta. I've been in New York. And in New York, I had stopped going for a little bit. But it got me thinking about joy. It made me think about joy, made me think about corporations. I was going to say corporate joy. But it had me thinking about joy and creativity, right? How the parade is a work of art. right? The parade is a work of art. No matter how you see it, it's a work of art. People had things to put together. This year they had an idea. Somebody had an idea, whether you're an independent float, somebody had an idea, and then you put it together, right? Thinking about how it is a creative project, but also how, sorry, I'm on my phone. Excuse me. Okay. Also how the start of Pride, the beginning of Pride in the 60s, the very beginning of Pride in New York, was also an idea. It was a creative idea, but it was an idea in response to, right? It was an idea in response to a raid. It was an idea in response to killings of trans Black people. It was a response, right? Yes, it was an idea, but it was a response. And I say all that to say they go together with this book, because this book talks about how our ideas are, the book talks about how ideas and how ideas don't necessarily come from inside of us first. They come from outside, and they come in, and we filter those ideas, right? When you create something, when you make something, you first observe and you filter what you're observing. You filter those ideas. And then you create something, right? And the idea is somehow given to you, right? In that way. The idea that comes from source, right? The idea that, I'm not sure if you believe in God or not, it really doesn't matter. We're talking about source in this case, being where everything comes from. And to you, that could be God. To others, that could be something else, right? But there is source. There is a source, right? When you think about the beginning of things, right? Things came from something. So the book is explaining that source brings forth the idea, right? The idea is given to creators. You can you filter the idea, and then you can decide whether or not you make it. And if you don't make it, the book explains the idea circulates to other people, right? Somebody will make this idea. And it's interesting because I don't know yet how I feel about that. I do remember there is this joke that I don't even remember if Michael Jackson said it or Prince said it, but there's this joke that one of them said, I think it was MJ, he was like, when I get an idea, when I get a song idea, I have to write it down quickly or else God is going to give it to Prince. And I always found that funny because, you know, we're all thinking, we're all one, we all live on the same planet, right? But we don't all think the same. We're all filtering these ideas differently. Two people can have the same idea to have a coffee shop, but they can look different, right? So even though this book is talking about how ideas are everywhere and given to everyone, the way that you filter it is different. So the way that, the way Pride began in New York and the way that was filtered is different from the way that Pride is celebrated today. Today, Pride is very corporate, right? Pride is something that businesses get behind as their human rights tactic. All right, and that's their decision to make. That's not, I'm not gonna say anything about that. That's their decision to make. Um, Me and my lover went to Prague together, and my lover is very wise. And they said, some things are gray. A lot of things are gray. And I appreciated that because me as a Scorpio, I can get really black, really dark. Me as a Scorpio, I can get really dark, right? And, put shame on things uh, like the Pride Parade, um, where in reality it is really gray. While yes, corporations are parading to seem or to some to seem, to others they actually do believe in those rights. But although to me it may look like a corporate parade where people are just making money, um it was also, and it is every year also, a beautiful time to gather and um celebrate um where we are here in the world, in this country. Right? I'm still kind of being a little dark about it because when I said celebrate, my mind was like, what are we celebrating? But I'm celebrating the fact that I can, in fact, be who I am, right? Um, and it's not illegal per se. Right? There's still there are still harmful threats in this country, in this world, um, against others who are different from the people who are threatened or triggered in whatever way. But we have come some way, right? I won't get locked up, and I can celebrate that on Pride Day, right? I can be with my lover, and I can celebrate that on Pride Day. Although we celebrate that every single day. Um, you can bring your family to Pride. It's a beautiful day of celebration, um, and remembrance, remembering those who did not have this luxury, remembering those who unfortunately passed away at the hands of the state. Um, so yeah, creativity is interesting, right? Creativity is interesting. Ideas are interesting. Um, when we realize, though, that we do not need corporations to celebrate, is when we is when we will change the world. Imagine with me a pride parade made independently where we are, where we truly represent those things that we want to see. And it is still as big, if not bigger, um, than the corporate pride. Imagine that, right? These are things that I would love for Militia to imagine. I would love for you to imagine, because these are, in fact, the things that I'm calling for, right? Your creative power outside of corporate validation, outside of anybody's validation, really, but your own. Your creative power, what is it that you make, valuing that before, because eventually, the society will value it, corporations will acknowledge it, right? Eventually. That's with any mainstream, I'm putting air quotes up, but that's with any mainstream art, right? But validating yourself before that is very important, because if you don't, uh, you could possibly just be creating for them, right? Not for yourself. I don't know if that makes sense. So I'm gonna try to break it down. If you don't validate yourself now and know that what you're creating is important, know that what you're creating is important to you, know that what you're creating is important, then when you are validated by these corporations, you'll be easily swayed to creating things that fit in their box. You feel me? If I make shirts, right, and I do make shirts, if this militia crew neck that I just made, if I'm not valid, if I don't validate it, and tomorrow, you know, Chase Bank is like, oh, we want to do a collab. That's dope. I'm gonna say hell yeah, and I'm gonna give Chase my everything, my soul. Because I'm gonna be like, wow, I can't believe Chase wants to do a collaboration with me, right? No, you can believe it. Believe it now. You right now, I want you to put yourself in a headspace where you can believe that every corporation that you come across, Apple, right? I'm pretty sure you're watching this on Apple, if not Android. The clothes that you wear, where every corporation that you come across already wants your art. Put yourself in that position. Tell yourself that your art is highly valued, right? And this is something that I need to do myself. Creative confidence is important for you to do now, early, before other people catch on, right? And if you find it difficult telling yourself that people love your art, I would really encourage you to practice this. Tell yourself, every piece that I make is magic. Every piece that I make is important. Every piece that I make is gold. Tell yourself this. Everything that you made is value. Everything that you made is magic. Everything that you made is gold. Every single piece. You have no bad piece. It's all perspective. The fact that you made it already makes it big, right? Because you can make different, I have so many different type of shirts, right? So many different type of shirts, and now a crew neck. The people who purchase my shirts and my crew neck, the people who join the militia, you all have a favorite, and they might not all be the same, right? So it's all perspective, but I know that what I make is important, right? So if you paint, if you are a photographer, if you make music, everything that you made, everything that you're making now, and everything that you're gonna make is magic. There was a TikTok that I shared. It was really beautiful. I might link it to this. There's a TikTok that was shared to me actually by my lover that I reshared. That was very beautiful. That inspired that this little bit, right? To remember that everything that you make is gold. And it's a privilege. Not everybody gets to identify themselves as a creative, right? No matter how old you are right now, the fact that you're watching this and the fact that you're making art, that's a blessing, right? That is a blessing that you got to realize that you are an artist. That is a blessing. Some people go their whole lives. Some people go their whole lives not realizing that they are artists, right? And they have all of these ideas. And I know even us, right? Even me, I've had all of these ideas even after knowing that I'm an artist. I've had all of these ideas that I did not actualize. What a privilege, what a blessing it is for you right now that you are in a place where you can recognize that you must create this work. What a privilege that you recognize that you must create this work. So I urge you to let yourself know that you are magic. Let yourself know that your art is magic. And make that piece, right? There's a lot of fear when we're creating, like, oh, I don't know if it's going to be good. Is this going to be good enough? You know, some people don't experience this, but a lot of artists do. It's going to be good regardless because you made it. It's going to be great regardless because you made it, because your hands touched it, or your lips touched it, or your gut touched it, right? Or your mind touched it, right? Or your mind's eye touched it. Okay? All right, y'all. Love y'all. Until next time. Peace.